Roberto De Zerbi has now officially started at Tottenham Hotspur, taking his first training session on Friday at Hotspur Way. He has come out and said, "I will prepare this playing group to win football matches. We have to play with courage." And it has just been announced that Victor Wanyama has retired from professional football. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another edition of Tottenham News, but I'll be going for all the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. So let's start by talking about new boss Roberto De Zerbi. De Zerbi took his first training session at Hotspur Way on Friday, unveiled on Tuesday and sitting down for his media duties with the club on Thursday. The new head coach met his new squad for the first time as our men's first team got to work following the March international break. After putting in some gym work, Roberto and the playing squad were then out on the grass with the 46-year-old heavily involved in giving feedback and coaching instructions throughout a session, which consisted of a physical warm-up, passing drills, an end-to-end possession drill and a competitive six-a-side match with three teams. Now, Spurs are next in Premier League action on Sunday week away at Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. And at the moment, Spurs are just 1 point above the relegation zone, sitting in 17th spot. Now, Roberto De Zerbi talking about the Sunderland match Sunday week, he said, "I think we have to be focused just on the Sunderland game. I don't want to listen to people speaking about the schedule or the Brighton game or the Wolves game. Game by game, we have to prepare the players to win the game and be focused just on the game." De Zerbi then went on to say, "We have to play with courage, we have to play with the qualities of the players, because if I accepted this challenge, it's because I have a big confidence in the players, and the history of Tottenham Hotspur is a very clear style of play. We are lucky, I'm lucky because I have big players with big talent, and my work is to help the players to show their qualities." Former Spurs midfielder Jamie O'Hara has been talking on Sky Sports about the appointment of Roberto De Zerbi. He said, "I think it is a great appointment. He is the real deal. Watching him at Brighton and the way that his teams played, I thought he was fantastic. He did a good job at Marseille as well. He is a realist. He knows he needs to keep this club up. He knows he has 7 games to save Tottenham's season. Then he can implement his philosophy and work on the training ground. He knows as well how to get results in the Premier League." O'Hara then went on to say, "We should have got him in earlier. We can sit here and talk about Harry Redknapp and people affiliated with the club, but he is the best manager we could have got at this moment. I've heard players coming out talking about how much they loved him. All right, he is a fiery character, but he has the character to get us out of this position." Now, a couple of key quotes from Roberto De Zerbi in his first interview with the club. He said, "I will be the coach of Tottenham Hotspur next season, no matter what. I'm very, very happy and proud to be here at Spurs. It's maybe the most important challenge of my career." And he also said, "I think we have the right qualities to come out of this moment. I believe in the players. The fans in the last 7 games, especially in this moment, are crucial." Now, where has the time gone? Because on this day in 2019, 7 years ago, Spurs played Crystal Palace at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, winning 2-0. It was the first competitive game at the ground. Heung-min Son, of course, scoring Tottenham's first goal and the first competitive goal at the brand new ground. On Friday, former Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Victor Wanyama announced his retirement from professional football. The popular midfielder made 97 appearances for us in all competitions following his move from Southampton in June 2016 and scored 7 times for Tottenham, including the opening goal in our final game at White Hart Lane. Victor was part of a strong midfield unit alongside the likes of Moussa Dembele, Moussa Sissoko and Eric Dyer during his time at the club. Now, on social media, Victor Wanyama wrote the following: "Today I announced my retirement from football. 4 different countries, 6 different clubs. A boy with a dream, carrying a nation's pride every time I stepped on to the pitch. To my family, friends, agent, the fans and the coaching staff that helped me throughout." Now, the Tottenham Hotspur women will be in FA Cup quarter-final action on Bank Holiday Monday away at Chelsea. The game will be played at Kings Meadow, 1:30pm kickoff. The game is also live on BBC One. Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode, and I must say I'm sitting here feeling a lot more happier and optimistic about our next 7 games in the Premier League. Of course, we are now on our 3rd manager of the 25-26 campaign. We're now on our 4th manager in 10 months. We've gone from Ange Postecoglou winning us Europa League. Ange, of course, got the sack. Thomas Frank took over. Thomas Frank got the sack. Igor Tudor come in. Mutual consent. He has now left, and now we have Roberto De Zerbi. Roberto De Zerbi, in all honesty, is a manager that I have liked, especially during his time at Brighton in the Premier League. Brighton played some extremely attractive football during his time there, and of course he guided them to 6th spot in the Premier League, guiding them to a Europa League Europa League qualification. And that was the first time in Brighton's history, their entire history, the first time they've ever qualified for Europe. And that was because of Roberto De Zerbi. And of course, I've watched a couple of documentaries recently on Roberto De Zerbi. And I tell you what, his journey is a good one. And his journey is a very, very interesting one. And there are a couple of documentaries, particularly on YouTube, that you should watch and watch in a lot of detail, because there are a lot of people who speak very, very highly of him. A number of his former players speak extremely highly of him, saying about training sessions, saying about how he is obsessed with winning football matches. He is obsessed with football, and he is so hands-on. And I tell you what, if you have seen a clip that Spurs put out on Friday, a very short clip, and then they've put out a longer clip as well on their official YouTube channel. The training session on Friday, how hands-on Roberto De Zerbi is. You can compare him to other managers that, of course, have managed Spurs or other managers in the Premier League. But I tell you what, Roberto De Zerbi, he looks very, very hands-on, talking to the players, explaining everything to the players. And of course, Sandro recently, and I've spoke to Sandro a couple of times about Roberto De Zerbi as well, because the couple of interviews that I've done with Sandro, he's always spoken very, very highly about Roberto De Zerbi, and always spoke that De Zerbi is always teaching his players, his playing group, and they're always so engaged and they're always so interested in everything that he has to say, and that is a very, very good thing. One thing that I really did notice as well in the short clip that I watched on Friday, and in the longer clip as well, Roberto De Zerbi, he wants his players to, one-touch, two-touch football. He doesn't want these players holding on for the ball for very long, but he does love possession in a match. He loves his team to have the ball. And, this could be very good for some of these players in this playing group. But I tell you what, this playing group now has to work extremely hard. These next 7 games are absolutely crucial. But I tell you what, I've really loved and enjoyed listening to Roberto De Zerbi talk in a couple of the short interviews that he has done through the official club, their media channels. And of course, he has addressed the Mason Greenwood situation as well. And I thought that would happen. I had hoped that would happen. And, you've got to be talking about these situations if it is upsetting people. And he has come out and apologised for those comments that he has made in the past. And, but from a footballing point of view, I feel a lot more excited. I feel a lot more optimistic about the remaining 7 games of our Premier League season, and Roberto De Zerbi will know, fully that how important these next 7 games are for the history of the football club. And he has come out and said, we have quality players. It is about getting them now to do the job. And he's come out and said we have to play with courage. That's exactly right. We do have to play with courage, and he has to now get the very, very best out of this playing group to get us results. And, we travelled to Sunderland Sunday week. We haven't won a Premier League game in 2026 so far, and we have to get back to winning ways as soon as possible in the Premier League, because we could go into Sunday's game at the Stadium of Light. We could be in the bottom three because West Ham do face Wolves on that Friday night. So, Roberto De Zerbi, he knows exactly what is expected. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And I'm so glad that we have made this change, because Igor Tudor, it clearly wasn't working. But I do feel like the fan base actually has this new, this renewed energy. I don't know whether it might be a mixture of we haven't played, for a little while. It will actually be 3 weeks from the Nottingham Forest game all the way through to the Sunderland game. But I'm so glad that Spurs have made this change in order to get Roberto De Zerbi to have now a clear week. It will actually be over a week to work with the players. Of course, all the players have come back from international duty, and it now gives us a real chance. And like I said, I think that Roberto De Zerbi did a fantastic job at Brighton. I don't think anyone expected them to get in a European spot, and he guided them to a European spot, and they did play very attractive football. And I've got to say as well that De Zerbi, seeing him on the training pitch and seeing and hearing him talk, he does actually give me Pochettino vibes, if I'm honest. And I feel like he is a mixture of a number of managers that we have had. He reminds me a little bit of Conte, because I suppose he's Italian, and he has that winning mentality. He just wants to win football matches. It reminds me of Pochettino for a number of different reasons, and I think that he will play the attractive football that would really, really suit Spurs. And I've said this before. Andoni Iraola is another manager that I have really liked recently, and I think that his style of football would certainly work at Spurs. And I said it when De Zerbi was at Brighton, that sometimes you just see managers and you see styles and you think, actually, that is the type of football that Spurs want to be playing. We hear quite often the Tottenham way. And it's funny, I mentioned the Tottenham way the other day, and someone actually wrote a comment, and forgive me, I can't remember the name, but someone actually wrote a comment and said, Chris, what is the Tottenham way? And that's a sad thing, because I think a lot of people have actually forgotten about what is the Tottenham way. Ange tried to play that. I think we saw that under Ange Postecoglou in his first season, certainly in that period of the first 10 games. But of course, when all of the injuries started, the Tottenham way kind of fell apart. Not Ange's fault. It was the fact that we had so many injuries at that point. But we've definitely got an upgrade here. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Thomas Frank, Igor Tudor, Roberto De Zerbi, as Jamie O'Hara said there. I think we do have a top manager here, and he isn't the finished article at all. But I tell you what, when you watch some of these documentaries, if you take the time to watch them, you will realise what a great journey he has been on, and what a great character he is, and how he has so much self-belief. And I absolutely love that. And I'll say it again, so hands-on on the training pitch. And that really does fill me with confidence, because it's so often now, in 2026 particularly, that a lot of managers or a lot of head coaches, really rely on their assistant coaches and coaching staff to do a lot of their work, and they're not very hands-on on the training pitch. I don't like to see that. And, at Spurs, I like to see the head coach really working hard and really drilling these players and telling them exactly what is expected. And that the short video that Spurs put out on Friday, all you hear is Roberto De Zerbi shouting instructions and telling the players exactly what he wants them to do. And this is exactly what I said a week or two ago. We need a manager to come in and make these players well drilled, tell them exactly what their job is, tell them exactly what is expected of them, and make us hard to beat. And I think that's exactly one of the most important things that Roberto De Zerbi has to do, before this Sunderland game. And, these next 7 games now, what is it? Sunderland away, Brighton at home, Wolves away. Those are the April games. And then, of course, 4 in May, Aston Villa away, Leeds at home, Chelsea away, and Everton at home. But am I feeling more confident about the remaining 7 games? Yes. Of course, we will know a lot more about our playing style. We will know a lot more about what Roberto De Zerbi has been doing on the training pitch, this week, once we've played Sunderland. So, hopefully he will make an impact and make a dramatic impact, because this is exactly what is needed. He needs to come in, hit the ground running, get the best out of these players and make these players really work hard, because we all know that these players are capable of a lot more than what they have been given, certainly this season under Thomas Frank and Igor Tudor. And a quick note on Victor Wanyama announcing his retirement from professional football. A popular midfielder, made 97 appearances for us in all competitions. Of course, a top midfielder under Maurizio Pochettino. We signed him from Southampton in 2016. I wish he'd have played more games for us, actually. And, of course, we would probably remember him most for scoring that thunderbolt away at Liverpool at Anfield, and of course scoring in the final game at White Hart Lane against Manchester United. But wishing him all of the very best for the future. Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Have a great weekend. Stay safe and well. I'll see you on the next one. Come on, you Spurs.